In today's American English pronunciation lesson, you're going to learn the full range of how to produce the TH sounds, including what I call the dental T or D variation. Hi, I'm Josh, your American English guide, and this is English Hacks Pronunciation, where I help you to sound like a native if you want, and to understand natural speech better. The first thing I want to talk about very briefly is this concept of a range. What do I mean by a range? Different sounds, right? Vowels have ranges, consonants have ranges, but for most consonants, not the stop consonants, for most consonants, including the TH, the range basically means that there is more than one way to produce the sound, right? More than one exact placement that you can use, and it will not sound informal, it will not sound wrong or uneducated or anything like that, and it will actually depend often on how clearly you're enunciating or how fast you're speaking. So for consonants, the range works like this. On one side, you have the nice, clear, perfect enunciated version or emphasized version of the sound, and that's usually going to be the way that most teachers teach you to do it. But enunciation is a tool that we use when we need to, not the normal way to speak. So for the TH, if I use this part of the range, it would be okay, I put the tongue between the teeth, it's nice and good, or if it's voiced, okay. Now as we go through this, we're gonna see that there's actually, as you get lazier and or faster, you're actually going to move away from that clearly enunciated perfect sound towards the logical end would be a dropped sound, but we don't really drop THs necessarily. There might be certain combinations where you could do that, like TH before S, it can kind of disappear maybe, but that's just the logical end of the range. So it's going to become an increasingly less clear TH sound, and sometimes there's also special variations like we're going to talk about today with the dental T or D variation. The way that most teachers seem to teach you how to do the TH sounds is they tell you to put the tongue through the teeth, but there's one big problem with it. We tend to use that version in emphasized speech or very clearly enunciated speech, and remember, enunciation is a tool. Sometimes it might also just happen that way. But usually in the flow of normal speed or especially fast speed speech, we're not going to take the time to stick the tongue through the teeth. In fact, the standard or normal way to produce the TH sounds would be right behind the teeth. Now remember, this is a full range, so it really doesn't matter if you stick it between the teeth or not, but it's going to slow down how you speak, and it might sound over-enunciated if you always use it that way. So instead, if this is your top teeth here, okay, top of your mouth, you don't have to go between the teeth, right? You can go anywhere from right behind the bottom, right here, all the way up anywhere behind these top two teeth, okay? You can even be up here in the corner where the teeth start going up into the top of the mouth. And I talked about this in the main lesson about the TH sounds, so if you've already seen that, you already know that. So we can move on. But that is the sort of standard normal way to do the TH, and that's one step in the range. It allows us to speak faster and more easily than sticking the tongue through the teeth. Next in the range, I would still count it as part of the range, but it's technically a variation of that second placement I told you, the one that's really close to the teeth. And this is what I like to call the dental T or D. Now the reason I call it the dental T or D is because that's the easiest way to think about it and the easiest way to do it, but it doesn't actually have to be flat on the teeth. You want to take your tongue, instead of having the air flow around the tongue, okay? You want to actually make full contact, make the front of your tongue flat, and this will create, if it's voiceless, it'll create t, 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 okay? If it's voiced, it'll create d, d, d. And this creates a very flat sounding or light D, or T or D, which do not exist in English, okay? They do not exist in English, except as this variation for the TH sounds. Most natives are not aware that they make this, and the brain of an English speaker will interpret these as TH sounds. If you try to replace this with a normal T or D in English, which is up here, t, d, and say, for example, tink or dat, then this will sound not very good. It will sound maybe very informal, and possibly, very likely, it will sound uneducated. There are some people who use that, and it's okay if you really want to do it, but you have to know that it will be perceived in a negative way, and you can do with that what you want. But when you do this flat dental T or D, this is a perfectly common, perfectly normal variation that is not informal as a replacement for the TH when we go flat. And what you can actually do, you can even be up here, right? Not even really touching the teeth. As long as you're more flat than when you do a t, d. If you're more flat on the front, you don't want to be completely up here like da, da, da. No, that's not right. Still the front of the tongue, but you want to be using a nice good flatness on the front. T, d, t, d. That still sounds like the sort of flatter TD that I call the dental version. So you don't actually have to place it on the teeth, but as you could probably tell by now, that is the easy way to explain it. That's the easy way to understand and to do it. This can be used as a replacement for almost any TH, almost any time. I say almost because it really doesn't matter too much, but in certain places, it's less likely to happen. That's usually at the end of a word if there's nothing after it. So for example, if I just say width, that actually can sound like width, right? DTH. But if we say with someone. So you can make that flat, slide into the S, and that will be interpreted by the mind of a native speaker as a TH sound. The only other times that we might not use this dental variation is maybe in, say, like with the TH to combination that we were talking about, where instead of going all the way up here, we kind of just do that lazy version. So we might not do it in that case, but you could. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, the last part of this range, we have what I like to call the light or lazy TH sound. And there's a reason why it's called that. It almost doesn't seem like a TH sound at all. It actually seems almost like an H sound, just breath. If I were to not be right here next to the teeth, okay, but let's say I go a little bit farther back, just a little bit. Sounds kind of more just like breath in a way. Again, this is the light or lazy TH. This is used in very fast speech, or it is also commonly used when going from TH to the vowel, like in the word other. Okay, so if I nice and clearly say that, I can go all the way to the front, other. But when I'm speaking quickly, or even just normal speed, it's kind of difficult to get all the way up here and then pull all the way back into the R. So instead, what we commonly do, you don't have to do this, that's fine. We won't go here, we won't go here. We'll actually go a little farther back and then just pull into the R, right? Other than that, other, the other day, the other. Okay, that's the voiced one, so you're not really hearing the breath. You get the point, it's the same idea. I'm just a little farther back. If you go too far back, it's not gonna work. Okay, so you have to be just close enough, but you don't have to be right there, right behind the teeth. So one of the keys I wanna make sure that you guys understand here is there is no right or wrong necessarily here. This is a range. So more or less, you can use any of these THs anytime you see a TH. That's why it's a range. So this is real speech, guys. If you pay very close attention, you will notice these things in the speech of natives. But I do encourage you to try to adopt them because there's a reason that all these exist. And it's usually to help us go from the nice clear version to being able to speak faster and more easily. So thank you guys so much for watching another English Hacks lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.